We're at the end of the school year and teachers are sending home letters that said, this is your child's reading level. And it has a letter, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. What does this letter actually mean? Keep watching and find out. Hi, I'm Hope from A Cupful of Hope. I'm an elementary school teacher and I've taught all grade levels over the last several years. I also had a strong focus in professional development when it concerns reading and writing in the elementary classroom. And I've worked with leveling students with these letters for several years. I've had a lot of questions from parents and even some from teachers that want to know, what do these letters mean? Why are children getting a letter? I want you to keep watching. I'll share with you where we come up with these letters and what we should do with these letters. This video is a part of my Ponderings for Parents playlist, so please subscribe to get more insight of what goes into your child's reading education. So where do these letters come from? The letters assigned come from a system of reading levels developed by Irene Fontes and Gay Pinnell, and they developed this to support reading in the classroom. These letters help teachers select books and pull students into groups for instructional purposes. Every book that you can imagine is assigned a letter according to complexity. Now that's complexity with vocabulary. It could be complexity with the sentence structure in the text. It can be complexity with the plot of the story and the use of figurative language. Each grade level has a range of levels that you would expect a reader to proceed with. For example, I'm teaching second grade. We like to see children come into second grade at a level J. And it is our goal throughout the year to move our students up to a level M. Similarly, if you're teaching third grade, we want our students to come in at a level M and proceed through the grade at the end with a level P. Oftentimes we're going to have students who don't come to us on grade level. That doesn't mean that we can't get them to grade level. I've seen many times, for example, in second grade, I have a child coming to me on an H, which is considered below grade level, and because I understand their levels, I am able to pull that child and pull specific text that I know is at their instructional level, and I also know teaching points from that level of what to include in my guided reading lesson. And because I know that, and because I'm familiar with that, I'm able to work with students and see them on grade level by the end of the year. That's what these reading levels are all about. Now, how are the levels assigned? I'm glad you asked. Teachers conduct a one-on-one assessment that involves listening to the student read a text. They read it out loud, and then a portion of it they read silently, and then following the reading of the text, we have a discussion to determine the comprehension of the text. While the student is reading out loud, teachers are listening for a couple of things. Number one, are they reading with accuracy? Are they able to call all of the words? And we're also paying attention to the strategies. What are they doing to figure out what a word is if they cannot read it? Secondly, we're listening for fluency. We usually will do a word per minute analysis to see if they're reading too slowly or are they reading too fast. We're also wanting to know, are they paying attention to the punctuation within the text? We also pay attention to the phrasing of the sentences or phrasing of the groups of words while they read. And then we decide upon all of that a fluency score. After students have read all of the text and we've collected that first portion of the data, we actually will have a conversation with the reader to talk about the book. Now, when we're trying to determine comprehension of the text, it's usually on 3 levels of comprehension. Now, the first level of comprehension is just to getting the student to tell us what they learned from the book or to tell us about the story. Well, oftentimes we'll say, would you retell the story to me? What happened? Then we'll move into another level of questioning, which really involves a lot of inferring skills, where students are taking what they've learned from the text and they're taking what they know about the world, what they know from previous knowledge, and putting it together to come up with answers from the text. How do you think the character felt at the time that they lost their friend? Those types of things. And then finally, we dig a little deeper into comprehension and we talk a lot about author's purpose. We'll talk about author's craft and ask questions like, why do you think the author wrote this book? Or do you think that the title is a good title for this book? Or what did the author do to keep the reader engaged in the book? After we ask these questions and have a conversation about that, we'll determine how well the student comprehended the text. We take those pieces, fluency, accuracy, comprehension, all together, and there's actually a chart, a guide for us to help determine what the reading level is. So perhaps you are ready to ask me, Hope, should I make my child read at the level that I've been given? And I'm going to tell you in a very short word, no. First, I want you to remember that the level is a tool for the teacher. It helps us to select appropriate books, and it also helps us to determine great teaching points within a book we have selected to use in guided reading groups. The letter that your child has been assigned to is probably an instructional level. Now, what that means is it's a bit challenging for the reader, but it's not too hard. It's right on the edge of the child's learning. So when we sit down in a group with an instructional leveled text, we can give assistance as the students read the text and ask questions to prod them and push them along in their reading instruction. I recommend, as do all of the researchers, your child should spend independent reading time on an independent level. Typically that is a level below where they are, but it can also be lower as well. Just because you have gotten a letter that says your child is a level P does not mean they need to read P and above books. I don't really recommend that at all. I think you should go lower so they can read these books independently and they know most of the words in those books. They can comprehend the book without too much difficulty. When your child sits down with this type of book, they're able to read it very, very smoothly to you out loud, and they feel very comfortable with the text. That's what we want our students reading, especially when they are reading independently. I also want you to keep in mind that students don't always read at a very precise level. The books that students read can be a range of levels. A lot of times I have found, as I have taught guided reading groups, whether it's at a level J or level K or sometimes even an L, those levels are very similar to one another in their complexity. As well, if I'm teaching a level M or a level N, those levels are very similar. For example, in level N books, level M books, a lot of times when we read chapter books that are on those levels, you're going to come into episodic chapter books, which basically means it's a chapter book with chapters that tell the story within the chapter. You got the problem solution within each chapter. When you get above level N, like level O and above, you're going to see the plot of the story develop along chapters. So that's what I mean by, episodic chapter books compared to chapter books that develop the plot along the way. I don't want you to stress about your child's reading level. Don't worry about your child climbing that level ladder. Reading really should be about finding joy and discovering the world when a child sits down to read a book. Even Fontes and Pinnell, the creators of the leveling system that I've been talking about, was quoted. It is detrimental to a student's self-esteem and their love of reading when they are encouraged to measure their own progress by moving up levels. We don't want to encourage our student, oh, you need to read more M books so that we can get you up to N books. It totally misses the point. Remember, this is a teacher's tool. It is a teacher's tool. You need to give your child opportunities to select books authentically. Find out what their passion is. Find out what they're curious about and help them to select those books. Take them to Barnes & Noble. Take them to the library, or even get on Amazon to look at books and determine what they want to read. First of all, about what they're interested in and what their passion is. Then encourage them to kind of give the book a test run. And if they give the book a test run and they can read it smoothly, independently, you probably got yourself a good book. If the text is too hard and they're reading really choppy, or they're reading like a robot, as we often talk about in our classrooms, that's probably what you'd call a not yet book. Can't read this yet. You're not ready for it right now, but maybe later. Or let's read this as a read aloud during family time. Parents, please, please, please don't neglect to read aloud to your children. You can select a text that would be above their level, and they're going to be able to gain a lot of comprehension and actually learn the nuances of literacy and learn how stories develop along the way without getting stuck in the reading part of it. So reading aloud is very, very, very valuable. Set up a time for your child to read. Encourage them to read all types of different texts: fiction, nonfiction, biographies, cookbooks, how-to books, graphic novels. You name it. Just encourage them to read wide and to enjoy the different types of reading, instead of thinking, oh, well, let's look this book up to see if it's a level P or a level M. Is this on your level? Myself, I don't support that type of reading. Get them a book that they can read on their own, and then you get a book as a parent or as a teacher or as a grandparent that you can read with them and discuss and talk about it. So as a reminder, the A to Z guided reading level, it's a useful tool for teachers that we use it to assess, to instruct, and to evaluate our students. It is not essential that you verify the level of a book when you're getting ready to let your child read. Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Let your child find books that they are passionate about and they're excited about, and get them into reading. Now, if this video was helpful to you, please like it and let me know if you feel better about the reading levels after this talk today. If you have questions, put them in the comments below. I would love to give you my 2 cents worth as a reading teacher. You may want to check out my summer reading tips video to dig a little deeper into helping your child with comprehension. I think the next video in this series is going to be on how do I help my child select just right books. If you'd be interested in that, kind of let me know in the comments below. If this content was helpful to you, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get another cup full of hope.